What is hindgut health? And given you can't exactly see your horse's hindgut, how do you know if it's healthy? Excellent questions. I'm glad you asked, because we're about to take a really close look at your off-the-tracks hindgut health and discover just what a healthy hindgut looks like. We will meet the microbes that live there, look at how to feed to keep the hindgut and its microbes healthy, and discover a few simple ways to measure the health of your off-the-tracks hindgut. Ready? Let's go. First things first, let's define what hindgut health actually is. A healthy hindgut contains a strong population of beneficial microbes who digest food and produce vitamins and other beneficial compounds like hormones, communicate with the horse via the gut-brain axis, and maintain immune function. The microbe population in a healthy hindgut is diverse, stable, and difficult to knock out of balance. Plus, the gut wall itself is healthy and creates an effective barrier between the horse's body and the gut contents, allowing the efficient absorption of nutrients into the body, but blocking the passage of bacteria, toxins, pathogens, and various other muck. An unhealthy hindgut, on the other hand, contains any combination of less beneficial microbes, less diverse microbes, more bad microbes, or a microbe population that is unstable and easily knocked out of balance into what we call dysbiosis. Plus, the gut wall is usually unhealthy and will leak, allowing bacteria, toxins, pathogens, and various other muck into your horse's body. Because so much of hindgut health revolves around the microbes that live in your off-the-tracks hindgut, let's meet them. Now, if I was to try and introduce you to all of your off-the-tracks microbes and you spent 0.1 seconds shaking hands with all of them, it would take us about 30,000 years. And we simply don't have that much time. So instead, I'm going to make group introductions, starting with group 1, the good bacteria. The good bacteria are predominantly fibre fermenters, meaning their favourite food is fibre. Their proper name is the fibrolytic bacteria, and these critters are happy to do the slow, laborious work of digesting the fibre in your off-the-tracks diet. The good bacteria are slow, peaceful little creatures, and they take their time reproducing, doubling their population only every 18 hours or so, which is slow in the world of bacteria. In other words, if you had 2 good bacteria, after 18 hours you would have 4. There are many different species of good bacteria in a horse's hindgut. And one of the characteristics of a healthy hindgut bacterial population is that there are many different species, and not one or a few species that dominate over the others. The second group of microbes I'd like you to meet are the fungi. Their proper name is the anaerobic fungi, and they are also fibre fermenters, which adds them to the good microbes list. The fungi are actually better at digesting fibre than their fibre-loving bacterial colleagues, making them an incredibly important part of your off-the-tracks beneficial hindgut microbe population. The third group of microbes we will be meeting today are the bad bacteria. These are the starch fermenters whose favourite food is starch. Their proper name is the amylolytic bacteria, and these critters are little party animals. They love fast food and they live in the fast lane with very rapid reproduction. Some are able to double their population in as little as 20 minutes. To show you the potential impact of this, if you had 2 bad bacteria and they doubled their population every 20 minutes, after 18 hours you would have more than 18 quadrillion bacteria. So while the bad bacteria are a perfectly normal part of a healthy hindgut when in small numbers, if you feed them, they can get out of control really fast. And when their populations explode like this, they will literally kill off your horse's good microbes. So a huge part of managing hindgut health lies in keeping these party animal bad bacteria under control. And we do that by making sure we don't feed them, which is a little bit like making sure a gremlin doesn't get wet. Right, now we have met your horse's 3 major groups of microbes, let's move on to briefly look at how they help or harm your horse as they digest food. The digestion of fibre by good bacteria and fungi takes place via a process called fermentation. During fermentation, the good microbes cut up and then eat the fibre in your horse's hindgut. They take some energy the fibre contains for themselves, and then they turn their leftovers into compounds called volatile fatty acids, or VFAs for short. Your off-the-track absorbs these VFAs and uses them for energy. It's a you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours relationship. Horses on high forage diets get more than 80% of their daily energy needs met by these VFAs. Plus, in the process of the good bacteria going about their daily routine of digesting fibre, they also produce vitamins for your off-the-track. And they make hormones and various other metabolites that control your horse's immune system and behaviour. The communication via the gut-brain axis between your horse's good microbes and nervous system plays a huge role in establishing normal, calm behaviour in your off-the-track. This slow, fibre fermenting system is the natural state for a horse's hindgut to be in. It is this state that developed over 55 million years of evolution. And our number 1 goal in feeding off the track should be to return their gut to this fibre fermenting state and keeping it there. Now, let's take a look at what happens if we feed the gremlins of the hindgut the bad bacteria. The bad bacteria do everything fast, and digesting food is no exception. Compared to fibre, starch is easy to digest. So the amylolytic bacteria cut it up, eat it, and produce VFAs really fast. Much faster than your horse can absorb them. Plus, because a lot of these bad bacteria are lactic acid bacteria, they also rapidly produce lactic acid, which can't be absorbed from the hindgut. And this all means when your horse's hindgut goes into a state of starch fermentation, the VFAs and lactic acid accumulate. The bad news is, when VFAs and lactic acid accumulate enough, the good fibre fermenters will start to die because they do not like being in acidic conditions. If this happens, your horse is in a royal pickle. It has lost its friends, the fibre fermenting microbes, and that has a massive negative impact on your off-the-track. They lose their ability to digest fibre and will become your classic hard keeper because they can't extract enough energy from their forages to maintain weight. Their gut-brain axis communication gets all messed up, so their behaviour can become anxious, spooky, hyperactive and unsafe. Their immune function, hoof health, appetite and a host of other health parameters are negatively affected. And their gut will start leaking. I've hopefully managed to make it clear by now that hindgut health really comes down to microbial health. And in microbial health, the balance between good and bad microbes and maintaining a diverse population of good microbes is everything. Research shows us that the more diverse the good microbes are in your horse's hindgut, the lower the risk of diseases like colic and the better their performance. To feed the good microbes, we need to feed in a way that honours the 55 million year long evolution of the relationship between the horse and its fibre-loving microbes. As horses evolved, they roamed free, and existed on a high forage, largely grain-free diet that was made up of a huge variety of plant species. While near impossible to create a diet exactly like their wild ancestors, here are the rules for feeding in a way that will support a diverse and stable population of good fibre fermenting microbes, while also keeping the bad bacteria under control. Rule number 1, feed lots of forage. Lots of forage will provide lots of fibre, and the fibre will feed a strong population of good microbes. Lots of forage for an average size 500 kilogram off the track is free access to pasture or 10 to 15 kilograms of hay per day. Rule number 2, feed a variety of forage. Forage variety creates fibre diversity. And because the good microbes have different favourite fibres, fibre diversity also creates the holy grail of a diverse population of fibre fermenting microbes. You can create forage variety by grazing your off the track on pastures with lots of different plant species, or feeding as many different hays as you can find. For a lot more detail on hay for your off the track, you should watch video 6, Buying Hay for Your Off the Track. For the best fibre diversity, try to incorporate legumes like clover and lucerne into the diet, alongside as many different grasses and other edible plants as you can. Rule number 3, feed alternate fibres. Fibres like sugar beet pulp, lupin hulls and copra meal, as well as flax seeds or flaxseed meal, hemp hulls or chia seeds, all add to the diversity of fibre in your horse's diet and help to support a more diverse, good microbial population. Rule number 4, keep grain to a minimum and feed in small meals. Grains are high in starch, so keeping grain in the diet to a minimum means you are keeping the party food starch away from the party animal bad bacteria and keeping their numbers low. Think of it like keeping the gremlins dry. Only feed grain or grain-based feeds to your off the track when absolutely necessary, when you simply can't maintain their weight or energy levels on forage and fibres. And when you do feed grains or grain-based feeds, keep the amount to a minimum. Never exceed 1 kilogram of grain or grain-based feed per 100 kilograms of body weight, which is 5 kilograms per day for a 500 kilogram off the track, with no more than 2.5 kilograms fed in each meal. Ideally, for the best hindgut health, you should aim to feed much less than this. Rule number 5, always feed cooked grains. Cereal grain starch, with the exception of oats, is exceptionally difficult for your off the track to digest in the small intestine, which means if you feed raw grains like corn, rice or barley, 70% or more of the starch they contain will end up in the hindgut, where it feeds the bad bacteria and allows their population to explode. Cooked grains, and particularly extruded grains or grain-based feeds, are much more digestible in the small intestine and will deliver minimal starch to the hindgut. In following these feeding rules, you feed the good microbes copious amounts and a large variety of fibre to keep their populations strong and diverse. And at the same time, you effectively starve the bad bacteria to keep their populations suppressed and at the levels normally found in a healthy horse's hindgut. Now you know what a healthy hindgut microbial population looks like and how to feed to maintain it, you are hopefully wondering how on earth you will know if your horse's hindgut is healthy. The good news is you can measure it, and here are 3 ways you can measure hindgut health. Regularly paying attention to the consistency and form of your horse's manure will tell you if things in the hindgut are largely okay. Manure can be scored from 1, which is profuse watery diarrhea, through to 6, which is dry and hard, with a score of 4, soft and formed, or 5, normal and formed, being the scores that indicate good hindgut health. We have put a manure scoring cheat sheet into this video's ebook for you. The second way you can measure hindgut health is by testing fecal pH. pH is simply a measure of acidity or alkalinity and can tell us if there is an excessive production of acids in the hindgut. The pH in a horse's hindgut during slow fibre fermentation will stay relatively neutral and hover around a pH of 6.5 to 7. And this means their fecal pH should be around this pH too. In contrast, when your horse's hindgut is possessed by bad bacteria rapidly fermenting starch, the pH will drop. If fecal pH drops below 6.2, your horse's fibre fermenting microbes will be in a world of hurt and starting to die en masse. If you do measure a fecal pH of less than 6.2, you need to make dietary changes immediately to put more fibre and less starch into the hindgut. Fecal pH is such a handy tool for tracking hindgut health, and it's super easy to measure. You can either use a digital soil pH meter, which you can buy online for a few $100s, or a cheap little soil pH test kit, which you can order online or grab from your local gardening or hardware store. Details on how to measure fecal pH are in the ebook for you. The third way you can easily measure hindgut microbial health is to do a full fecal microbiome analysis. High-quality microbiome testing will show you exactly which microbes your off-the-track has in their hindgut, the balance of good to bad microbes, and the level of microbe diversity. Details of where you can send fecal samples for microbiome analysis in Australia are in the ebook for you. Plus, watch video 16, where we look in detail at one off-the-track's hindgut microbes. Your off-the-track's hindgut health potentially has a bigger impact on their overall health, well-being and behaviour than anything else. So it is super important to keep their hindgut and its resident microbes healthy. To do this, remember, there are 3 groups of microbes in your horse's hindgut: the good fibre-fermenting bacteria, the good fibre-fermenting fungi, and the bad starch-fermenting bacteria. A healthy hindgut is one that has lots of good microbes, lots of different types of good microbes, and very few bad bacteria. To create a healthy hindgut, feed lots of fibre, lots of different types of fibre, and minimise the amount of starch that ends up in the hindgut. To do this, feed heaps of forage, lots of different types of forage, and add alternate fibres to the diet. Plus, minimise grain and only ever feed cooked grains. You can measure your off-the-track's hindgut health by checking their manure score, testing fecal pH, or testing their fecal microbiome. My approach to hindgut health with my horses is to always think about feeds and forages in terms of how is this going to affect my horse's hindgut microbes. So from now on, whenever you're choosing new forages or feeds, do the same. Ask yourself, if I feed this, is it good or bad for my horse's hindgut microbes? Doing that will get you a long way toward having an off-the-track who is super calm, healthy, and happy.